virus Omicron. Falcon hates puns and thinks that they're all wrong. One's American and one is an Aussie. Talking about StarCraft 2 and the esports scene.
Hello. Happy podcast day, Falcon.
Thank you so much. Good to have another podcast day.
Better make the most of it this week. I fear there won't be one next.
Yep.
Yep.
Every day could be our last.
Well, no, I mean, I won't be in the country, so I won't be at my computer to record one next week, so I know there won't be one next week. Yeah.
So it's not like a nihilistic take. It's
No.
a practical thing that you're saying. Got it.
Yeah, yes.
Fair.
Although it's true, this could still be our definitive last. You are right. Thanks for bringing it down.
Yeah, I mean, there's buses out there that could, just hit us.
My plane could crash. It's true.
Right. I mean, no one lives forever, so,
It's true. It's true. Actually, I started listening to Black Box Down podcast, which is entirely about plane crash stories.
You're like, I'm going to be on a plane soon. What should I start listening to?
Exactly. That was precisely my line of thinking. Yeah. Yeah. It's good stuff.
Wow. Yeah. There. So there's one story that comes to mind. I think it was like a Russian flight where their pilots are in this fog and they just fly right into a mountainside.
Oh, okay.
That one?
No, not off the top of my head. They haven't covered that yet. Managed to listen to... There's short episodes, so like 30 minutes-ish. I've managed to listen to like 20 episodes in 2 days, and they haven't covered that.
Okay. Yeah, it's mountainside crash of new Russian jet in Indonesia.
Oh, okay.
Puts sails in limbo. 45 feared dead. So the crash of a new Russian-made jetliner crashed into a jagged Indonesian volcano during a flight to impress potential buyers back in 2012. So that will probably come up in your podcast. It's a pretty big one.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of fascinating plane crashes out there. Just,
There are.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Listening to it didn't feel like bad luck. But talking about it now, I'm now nervous. I don't know what the difference is. Just mentally, it feels different.
That's using
I regret
your brain.
I regret bringing this up.
Right, we'll move on then. Let's keep this ball rolling. Do you want to do Warhammer first?
Yeah, we can do Warhammer. Let's talk about Warhammer.
Okay, sounds good. What's up, the Swiss? Yeah, sorry, we're going to talk about Warhammer now, which is, I mean, not exactly light, but it's better than plane crashes, maybe.
It's also not real, so...
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
True. It can still kind of weigh on you.
It can.
Anyway, yeah. So it's just the continuing adventures of Robert Guilliman, our hero of the Imperium.
Yep. Robot Girly Man, the Avenging Son.
Yes. Yep. Trying to stave off the effects of the plague and the warp and all that fun stuff.
Yes.
So
this was the third book in the Dark Imperium trilogy, Godblight. That we read. Yeah.
It is a Godblight. So a lot of things that have been set up in previous books come to a head here in the third book, which is the sign of it's a good trilogy. It was planned out from the beginning in a lot of ways, as far as I can tell. So that's good. So yeah, the Ajax, the beautiful, plentiful, wonderful homeworld, which we saw get completely taken over by the Plague Father and his minions. Thanks to just random people flying into Ajax for the express purpose of getting cured of the diseases and the illnesses and the terrible spells upon them. And then,
I mean, don't blame the people. Like, don't say it's their fault. They just randomly flew to Ajax to seek medical aid. It's like, no, Ajax was set up as a Medicaid facility. That's where they went to get treatment from being wounded. It's not their fault.
That's what I'm saying. It's such an irony that this place of cleansing and healing and fixing all these problems gets completely infiltrated and turned into this central area of corruption and pestilence.
Right.
Like, it's kind of a beautiful thing the Plague Father pulled off there.
It is. Kugath chose wisely, I guess.
Yes.
Do you think he chose?
Idea?
No, I think
Plague Father's idea. Kurgath isn't that smart.
Kugath is okay. So the word Plague Father refers to Kugath because he's Kugath, the grandfather Nurgle.
Grandfather.
He might also sometimes use some people might sometimes also refer to him as the Plague Father or something, just because pestilence and titles go hand in hand and cross over a bunch of times. But I think this was actually a lot of Mortarian's planning. Like he chose Iax. That would be Pestilax.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. He seems to be the one in control here. Well, at least in the planning side.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, he's going directly against the wishes of Grandfather Nurgle.
Yeah, so there's a little changing of tides at the start of the book where it said that two of the other Chaos Gods, Tzeentch and Khorne, have grown kind of jealous of Nurgle's boons of recent and have invaded the Plague Worlds. And so Grandfather's like, everyone come back and defend. And Mortarian's like, I don't want her.
I'm really interested in killing my brother, sorry.
Yeah, I'm a free man. No, he's not. I'm going to stay here and do my thing. I certainly don't think you should, but,
Well, I don't know. It's a good question. How free is he? I feel like if he didn't have any freedom, then he wouldn't have been able to enact any of these plans at all. And he would have just been forced to go back home and help defend the homeland, right?
It's true. He is, I don't know, it's definitely set up that he is free. And he definitely has the ability to choose not to go, because that's what he does.
Yes.
But all of his power comes from Nurgle, and Nurgle's eye was upon the cauldron when the Godblight was completed. Yeah. But he knows that Mortarion and Kugath, by extension, have decided not to return, not to heed the call. So is he secretly sapping them of their power at this moment? I mean, look, if you're not going to listen to me, I'm going to the veil is going to no longer stretch thin. The demon hosts that you've summoned are going to be weaker. That's a thing that they talk about. It happens on Macragge later, but when the Historoda slays an imp and its body immediately dissolves,
right.
Tiggy, the librarius, the chief librarian, he's like, oh, the veil is there's not a lot of warp power here to sustain their bodies, and they immediately dissolve. So you could assume that maybe Nurgle has some influence there back on Iax, being like, look, you guys aren't listening. Maybe I'm not going to support you guys as much. I need my power elsewhere.
Sure, but wouldn't it be smarter of him just to take the power entirely and be like, you're not doing this. You do this at my behest and my power, so wonk, come back and you'll get your powers back.
Well,
if you continue in this, then nope.
So demons, and by extension demon primarchs, because they're half demon, have some level of their own power. So I imagine they can't take. He can't just be like, I'm taking everything, right?
But Morianton's kind of an idiot. But if even he was like, oh crap, I've lost all of the power bestowed upon me by Grandfather Nurgle, I probably can't take down Guilliman without it, right?
Well, he can't take.
Takes it out.
Right, but I don't think he can take away his demonhood. I don't think he can just do that. Because I think it's entwined. It's now his. He gave him a big piece of that.
All right.
Man, just for the people listening and watching, you've been, muting to cough and sneeze, and have you been blessed by Grandfather?
Yes, quite possibly.
Yep. You got the pox.
Be dead in 3 minutes. That's usually how that works.
Well, there's about to be a demon host somewhere.
Yeah.
An incursion, yeah.
Yeah. Anywho, okay, so fair enough. So Morianton has this whole big plan to take down Guilliman, and it works except for the incredible interference of, I don't know, the Emperor probably.
That, quite possibly the Emperor, quite possibly humanity's faith just in Guilliman himself.
Right. Sure, any of those things. You gotta feel bad for Morianton, right? He's got this plan. It goes to perfection. Mm-hmm. He's killed Guilliman, and then, I don't know, magic. Magic shows up and he loses. He's like, dang it. The worst. Right?
Yeah.
He's so mad. It's like this Deus Ex Machina thing. Just boof.
Yeah.
Guilliman is dead. He is dead. And then he's not. And then Morianton loses, and it's like, come on.
That is for all incentive purposes what happens, but I feel like the book kind of gets away with it, given that it's spent the last 2 books, basically 2.5 books, questioning what is divinity and like, is the Emperor a god? And if he is a god, then is a Deus Ex Machina ending a bad thing? Because it's complicated, because it's kind of a confirmation that maybe he is a god, but also it could just be godlike power and he's still not a god.
Right. And one of the themes of this book is that gods are gods. There are no good gods. There are no bad gods. Gods are gods. Gods have an immense amount of power. Whenever they use it, it's generally bad for everything living.
Mm-hmm.
So go with, do whatever you want, but keep that in mind.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, it's good. And again, our author here, really his favorite thing to do is describe how disgusting all of Grandfather Nurgle's minions are. It's his most favorite thing to do.
It is, yes.
Yeah. I especially appreciated the giant, like the 200-foot gross giant that like has little pustules all over him, and they burst off of him and turn into 15-foot long minions, and just like constantly sloughing off him. And sometimes they come off too early and they're not ready to run around, and then they die because they're premature. And it's like, this is man, who comes up with this stuff?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. Yeah, a lot of plague drippings in this book. I don't know.
Constantly wet and dripping and gross, and there's mucus, and there's blood, and there's phlegm, and there's vomit, and there's it's all over the place.
Yeah,
I especially appreciate a lot of the higher demons have the ability to like projectile vomit acid and all sorts of garbage on people that they're fighting. It's a real solid power.
It's a great way to melt through things. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Go ahead. You go.
Oh no, I was going to ask you if you had anything you wanted to touch on. In specific.
I thought it was interesting that what was his name? The
Justinian.
Nope. Tattleteller.
Tattleslug.
Tattleslug. Yeah. Like they put all this work into kind of establishing what this is and what his powers are. And he's got this whole deal system going on. You tell him a deep dark secret, and then he'll go spy for you. And then he does a thing, and then he's dead. And it's like, wow, okay. I was expecting him to stick around for a little bit longer. Kugath is like, I guess he's done.
He gave me the information and went back to his host and then died.
Yeah.
Well, good bargain, I guess. I love...
Set this dude up. He was kind of interesting, and now he's just gone.
I do love the interaction between Kugath and the Tattleslug, where he's like, you must tell me a secret. And he's like, a secret, eh? I never really liked Rodigus. And it's like, come on, man. Because
yeah, go ahead.
Kugath is first in Nurgle's favor and entirely shy about people liking him. Entirely self-conscious as a demon. And it's great.
He's a fun character, but I love that the Tattleslug is like, that's not a secret. You hate everyone.
It's like, that's a minor embarrassment for you at best.
Right. Yeah, Kugath is great. I love how just constantly offended he is at everything that's going on. He's got his big old cauldron that's the source of this terrible plague and this storm that's screwing up Ajax. And the humans show up and they're trying to mess with it, and he's like, "Hey, that's mine! Knock it off! Don't touch that!" He's fantastic.
Yeah, he reacts like a cook in a kitchen, being like, "Hey, what are these other people doing here? This is my kitchen. Get out!" Sure.
Yeah, and more examples. He has to leave the cauldron, so he has 2 lesser demons come and stir it for him, and he's like, "Hey, you're stirring it too fast. It's not a tornado; it's a storm."
He's a really likable character for a demon.
He is. I don't know that likable is the right word. I think he's very entertaining, and he's really well developed. But I don't know that I'd want to spend any time with him, I guess.
Well, I mean,
my take on it.
I don't think you can at this moment. I don't think he's got much favor. He's not getting out of the garden anytime soon.
No, he's in a lot of trouble. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a
Yeah.
kind of fun little postscript
With his
with Rodriguez looking for him in the forest.
in the garden, and like all of the demons spend their like
Yeah.
rebirthing time in like seed pods in a big tree or something.
Yeah,
Like in this garden, and he's like talking to him, and he's like, I'm first in favor now.
yeah.
And
Didn't he wait until like the conversation was over and he's leaving, and he goes, "Oh, and also, by the way, I'm first in favor now. Screw you." He's like,
Pretty much.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. So, thumbs up, thumbs down overall?
Yeah, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
I think overall the trilogy is good. I don't know. I really do enjoy the kind of investigation into, what makes a god.
Mm-hmm.
If something is super duper powerful, do we just call it a god and don't worry about the semantics?
Right.
Right? Gilliman constantly being like, Matthew is a psychopath, and I really disapprove of his messaging and what he does on his own, but I can't tell him no because of the power that he holds within the Imperium.
I can't tell him no, and I keep getting like outmaneuvered by him. He keeps managing to force him into a way that Gilliman can't censor him without basically offending the Church of the Imperium, which he needs.
Right.
It's really interesting to like, he is a godlike being who is impotent to control his subjects, basically. And that's gonna be infuriating, I imagine.
Infuriating. I think it's a fairly common thing in fiction. I've seen it at least a few times.
Yeah.
Where it's like, everyone thinks this person's a god, but like, actually, there's a ton of strings puppeting this dude, and he can't really do what he wants.
Right, well, I mean, the same is with the Emperor. That, like, he's a god of the Imperium, but he doesn't really talk to anyone. He doesn't quite have the ability to.
Right.
So every now and then there are people who have dreams and visions of the Emperor talking to them, and they do things, and sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. But the Emperor isn't really in control, and there's a lot of things keeping him alive behind the scenes that most people don't know about. Well, most people in world, everyone I think who's even heard of Warhammer knows that the Emperor's like on life support as a corpse.
Yeah, there's a lot going on that the vast majority of individuals do not know.
Right.
Right.
Especially with one of the subplots in the book that is like leading to another set of books maybe somewhere eventually about the Hestarda trying to find that one, like trying to get into the one library of Ptolemy, and the demon there who's like, "Hey, come read this book. I'd give it to you, but it would I would destroy it." Yeah. So
and so sorry, just real quick. What was great about that is you're like, okay, so it's some demon infested book, and there's this archaic power around it, and then the dude's like, he finally picks up and he's like, "This is a history book."
Yeah. So the history of that book is in other books, but what that means for the future is very interesting, because what it talks about is a time of Imperium Secundus. So basically everyone's in the Imperium, but not by choice anymore. Like there's no, like you can't leave. This is like Texas trying to leave the Union. It's like, it's not happening, buddy.
It's too big. Like any empire that got that big, you can't just let people willy-nilly leave it at that point.
Exactly. And so during the Horus Heresy, 10,000 years ago-ish, one of the legions of Astartes summoned a warp storm called the Rowan Storm around Macragge, basically, like where they are now. And they didn't know if the Emperor was alive or not, so in an attempt to maintain what left of the Imperium that they thought they was, Gulliman and two of his other brothers instituted Imperium Secundus, right? Which was basically succeeding from the Imperium because they thought it was dead, but it wasn't. And when they realized it wasn't, they basically abolished it.
Right.
But the custodian, Cloaquin or Malvar, the Tribune, the gold guy who doesn't like him very much,
right.
he's entirely there because he doesn't trust him that he might attempt to seize the throne, and this Historiador has just found evidence of Gulliman setting up his own empire.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is what that means.
Makes sense. I really liked Rodriguez talking to the plague dude while he's in his pod, and he says, you know, I'm creating corruption through giving a dude a book.
Yeah.
You would do well to remember there's more than one ways to corrupt.
Yeah, there's more than one way to spread plagues. Well, there's more than just plagues. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was really good. He's like,
great.
you know, Gilliman has this dude who's a historian, and he digs up secrets, and he obsesses about him. And yeah, I know who he is, and I gave him something that would change his worldview and shift his paradigm and screw everything up. Spread. And that's all I had to do. Just wander in.
Yep.
Yeah, it was great.
It's good. Really looking forward to seeing where that goes, if anywhere. Because it could just be a thread of a book that goes nowhere. It's like,
oh, good. Well,
don't say it like that. It could just go nowhere for a very long time. That's all.
Yeah, fair enough. It's books. Can't expect anything from books to continue.
Right.
Song of Ice and Fire has taught us that.
No, those books are coming, I swear.
Yep.
I hear they're now bundling it with the Star Citizen pre-orders. So
Get Winds of Winter and Star Citizen release.
And
only $100. Buy it now.
Any day now.
The funniest thing.
Yeah. Star Citizen has passed $500 million in crowdfunding.
Yeah, I mean, I knew they were into the hundreds of millions. 500 mil kind of snuck up on me, so that's insane.
Who out there is still like giving them money? Who looks at this project and goes, you know what? They've been crowdfunding for a decade. I feel confident in this investment. I'm gonna buy a ship.
It's got to be whales. It's just got to be people that have a ton of money and they love having their own ships and they love thinking about having their own ships that don't exist yet. Because there is the pre-alpha and then some ships are in there, so you can log in and fly them around. It's like, okay, that's you bought that, you have it, it's great. But most of them, as far as I know, they're JPEGs. So you bought a JPEG, congratulations. One day maybe you can fly it. But I can't imagine there are many people who are like, you know, I'm going to do the $49 starter kit thing for Star Citizen now. It's like, no, why would you do that?
I don't know. I wouldn't.
I can't think any of that money's coming from those kind of people. I think it's got to be the whales who are just addicted to buying really cool ships.
I mean, it makes me want to set up a company that builds real starships. That's what I do. And I'm going to sell people designs of starships that I will one day make. They will cost tens of millions of dollars each. I'm selling exclusively to the 1%. You will one day get a starship that I make.
I feel like you would end up in prison.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
Why? Well, I'm going to make the ship. I'm clearly working on it. What do you think I'm doing with all the money? How's this any different to Star Citizen?
You need at least a pre-alpha, I think.
Oh, okay.
Star Citizen can point to it and say, we've developed something.
Okay.
We have some ships. So if you can make a couple smaller ships, then yeah, I think you can get away with this.
Okay. So the $100 million pre-order will be you get your spaceship that you want and that we're going to make, and you get access to the spaceship early access pre-alpha, which is a bottle of Coke and some Mentos.
Nothing that crosses the threshold of like proof of concept. I'm sorry, no.
Okay,
I have to do a little bit more than that, but I do appreciate the idea. I appreciate the American and intrepidness of this concept. Good.
Okay. Wow. I feel like it's legitimate. I think we can get away with that.
All right, well, give it a shot.
I'm gonna be a bajillionaire. Just you wait and see.
Deal. Anywho, what else is going on? Rings of Power, new episode came out last week.
I still have not watched.
Right? I'm not going to talk much about it. I'm just going to say it feels like we spent the first 3 episodes introducing characters and setting pieces on the game board. Now it feels like we're moving. So
Okay.
I'm expecting episode 4 to have some really solid plot progression and stuff to happen a lot.
Okay.
That's all.
Fair enough. Yeah.
How about House of the Dragon? How's that one going?
It's good.
Is it moving?
It is moving, and I believe the next episode there's going to be a time skip, and so a bunch of the younger
have one.
No, well, sort
this
of.
Is the one they keep talking about.
This is the one that they're talking about. So basically, a bunch of the younger characters are now growing up slightly.
Yeah. And they're replacing them.
And they're replacing the actors. Yeah. So like between seasons like 1 and 8 of Game of Thrones, characters like Bran grew up, and so having it being set later, like the last episode's obviously years later, Bran looks grown up, and that makes sense. I mean, he got really tall and a giant nose, so it works. Unfortunately, some of the actors that they're replacing are really good in the show, and I'm like, man, I don't want to see this character go. I like this character. Like, I like the performance.
I've seen a ton of similar thoughts on Reddit. They're like, man, I'm in love with this character and this actor's portrayal of this character, and they're just gone. That's it. They're done for the rest of the show, and I don't feel good about that. It's an interesting choice to give the viewer so much time with them. Like, I could see
one or two episodes, maybe halfway episode 2 or something, or maybe even like a season and then have the time skip at the end of the season or something. Like, that's one way to do it.
Yeah, but it's just enough time to fall in love, but not so much time you felt like you had enough time with them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so there's some site out there that's releasing every episode a week early, so it's like ahead of the schedule by 1. So when I get it, I just watched episode 4 or 5, and so some of the screenshots and stuff that I've seen have been, that's the next episode because that's the older character, and r/free folk are like, we don't believe in spoilers, so I see a lot, and I've just learned to live with it, and I'm okay with that. So I'm hoping that the people who have seen the new characters are like, you know what, they're alright as well. And I'm just going to also learn to live with that. I think I'll survive.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure most people will survive.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to me that the show has won over Free Folk. Free Folk was created to be pissed off about Game of Thrones and how it ended. So for a long time, it was just residual anger over how the show ended. And then they announced House of the Dragon, and everybody there was still pissed about how Game of Thrones ended. So they were not posts like, ooh, House of the Dragon, let's watch this. Everyone was like, fuck this. More Game of Thrones garbage.
There were 900,000 comments being like, we do not kneel. We are not going back to HBO. And then the show was good.
Within 2 weeks of the show being out, the sub is filled with people talking about how much they like House of the Dragon. So it was a hard job, but man, these showrunners really won over those dudes. So that's pretty impressive. Yeah. That's all.
I recommend it at this point so far. Who knows how it'll end, but one of the things I've been enjoying is seeing the changes from the book, because there are a lot, and some of them seem wonky choices. They make me like the show a little less when people show the differences. Obviously, I don't want to spoil anything, but some of them are just a bit odd. There's a character who needed his wife to die, and in the book, she dies on accident.
And he's like, "Wow, that was easy."
Well, I don't know if he needed her to die in the book, but in the show, he's like, "Well, time for some murder,"
Oh, okay.
And it's like, okay, if this character died on accident, that would be fine, because characters die randomly all the time in Game of Thrones. It's kind of what they do. It's usually by murder, but random is not unheard of, I would feel, right?
Yeah.
And so the inclusion of deciding to murder her feels just unnecessary. Unless you want to definitely set up that this character is bad, but we already kind of knew that about this character.
So sometimes what shows will do is, if there's a character that is bad, they really want to give you no reason at all to root for the character, so they have them do something overtly evil for really no good reason. Right?
Right.
Is that kind of what's going on here? Like, would you possibly be rooting for this character except that he murdered his wife?
No, I'm kind of rooting for him anyway. Like,
even after that? Okay, you're not the target person here.
Here's the problem. The scene with him and his wife introduces the wife, and like within minutes you like the wife character, and then she dies immediately, right? Like she's not a player in the main game. Like she's just off somewhere else doing her own thing, and then he basically goes home and murders her and comes back. But he's also like a cool, charming guy. Like he works it. He's like, oh no, my wife has died. I guess I'll go get that inheritance now. Wink to like everyone in the realm, like, and gets away with it. Like, he's a lovable scallywag kind of guy. It's great.
Okay, I see what the problem is here. They've made him too cool. All right, that's a problem for the writers then.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I just think I just appreciate complexity in villains. I feel like it's okay if a villain's not entirely thoroughly evil all the way down to their toes. But so many times they're like, here's a complex villain, and maybe some of their motivations are good, but the way they try to go about them is wrong, and you understand them. And then it's like, oh, and they're a pedophile. And you're like, okay, well, all right. I guess they're just bad now. Like, it has nothing to do with the rest of what they're doing. It's just they are a pedo. It's like, oh,
right. Awesome. You see that a lot in villains, and actually, I just finished rewatching all of Game of Thrones, and there was Sammarin Trent, who was a member of the Kingsguard, who went with one of the Tyrell old dudes to meet the Iron Bank. He's like, oh, we're gonna send you, so you need a guard. Here's Sammarin Trent, and then Arya finds him and murders him there. Spoilers for like a 6-year-old season of TV. And
yes,
but
ultimate example.
We already knew he was an asshole. He was like someone who would kill for the queen just on her word, killed her dancing teacher, absolute bastard. And then it's like, oh, how does she find him? Oh, he's in a brothel and he just wants to bang children. Like the brothel keeper's like, here's my youngest girl, and he's like, too old. What about this one? Too old. And then basically they find him a serving girl, and he's like, this'll do. Tomorrow you'll have a new one for me. It's like, okay, we get it. This guy's evil.
And in this case, it's not so much they don't want you to like him. They want you to feel like Arya's murder of him is entirely 100% justified and not at all a little bit icky.
Right. They just want to remind you that this guy's bad. And I feel like as someone who binge watched the entire thing in like the space of 3 weeks, I knew he was bad. I remembered. I didn't watch this over years and then forget, you know?
Yeah. Because it's a more interesting show if Arya murders him just because he was an executioner for a king. Like, I don't know if that's an inherently evil thing. It's probably bad, and he probably is an asshole, but like, does he deserve to be stabbed in the face by a vengeful killer for that? I don't know. But Arya doing that and then you being like, I don't know if I feel entirely good about it, is different from, oh, yeah. No, this guy's a predator of children. Go ahead, Arya, do your thing. I'm not going to have any thoughts about this at all after this.
Right.
So stupid. And what even makes it worse here is that it's not just he's a pedophile. Because they give him a 14-year-old. Us in 22 are like, oh, fuck this guy. But the fact that he has to be so gross that the people in this world think he's gross. Like, he had to really ratchet up the evil here. It was like, all right, D&D, you guys are hacks. You're hack writers, man.
Right. But now watching House of Dragons, there are times where, so spoilers for like the first 2-ish episodes, the king's wife dies in childbirth, and the entire realm is like, the king should have a wife, don't you think? Who will be the next heir then? If the king has a wife with another kid, who will be the heir? And that's basically what the main conflict of the show is. But one of the people someone suggests to marry him is like, well, there's this other old Valyrian house that's not on great terms with the Targaryens. maybe you could marry their daughter, like their youngest daughter, because their eldest is already betrothed to someone else or something. And he just goes, she's 9, right? But
it's a political marriage, dude.
Right. It's a political marriage, but then they show him like walking through the gardens with her because it's like, oh, I'm gonna meet her and make sure she understands what this is. And she's 9, and he's like, he's clearly picking up that this guy, that the little girl's basically just like a mouthpiece for her parents, who obviously would like to get in bed with the throne.
She's 9, and all of this was immediately obvious, dude, when she was 9.
And she goes, my parents assure me I would not have to enter your bedchambers for another 2 years.
Hang on, hold on. We understand it's a problem for 9-year-olds to be married and have sex with 30-something-year-old people, but we got it taken care of. We're going to wait until she's 11 and everything will be cool.
Now, the king respectfully declines this offer.
No, 12.
He ends up fucking his daughter's best friend instead. His daughter, 15.
Marginally better.
Marginally better.
Anyway.
Yeah, so, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's always a problem when you're trying to portray certain cultures, especially from times long past, or, fantasy realms that are just supposed to be medieval, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, sure. People were having sex and having babies when they were 13, 14 years old.
Right.
That's how it was, and no one really thought much of it back then, and we've decided that it sucks now, and I think we generally agree that it does. So it's like, okay, when you're portraying this kind of a system, do you want to bring our own modern sensibilities into it? Or do you want to portray it as it would be? And it's a verisimilitude problem that writers have when they're in this kind of a spot. So I don't know. So they basically just went for, this is how it works.
Yeah, I feel
fantasy world, this is it. Deal.
I feel like House of Dragon did it much better. It's like, oh, the king had a choice and he chose one way, but the realm might kind of like the rest of the realm was not up in arms that it might have been. Whereas Game of Thrones with Sir Meryn Trent was just like, oh, it's evil. You should know he's evil, so we're going to show an obviously evil thing and present it as obviously evil.
Right. That's true.
So one franchise doing it right and wrong, kind of,
Yeah. No.
So yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Ugh.
Well, interesting. So what's the big conflict of the show?
Oh, who will be the heir, basically. So the king is in ailing health, and his first wife failed to produce any male heirs that lived for very long.
Classic problem. Yep.
But he does have a daughter, like who's of age, who's like 15, and so he names his daughter the heir. That's Rhaenyra. And all of the lords come and swear allegiance that they recognize her as the true heir. But then he ends up fucking and marrying her best friend,
right,
Alicent Hightower, and producing male heirs. And so the big conflict is really just like, who's going to actually succeed him on the throne? Is it going to be the male heir from his second wife or the woman from his first wife? Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So palace intrigue,
pretty
inheritance type stuff. Is there any external conflict?
Like
kingdoms at war type stuff going on?
Yes. So the guy who murders his wife is also kind of out to get a slice of the pie and maybe be the king. And he was fighting off some war with the people who had the 9-year-old, right? Like, they were very upset that the king wasn't willing to help them in like a war with these other people, but so the house was kind of fractious, and then he was helping. Like I'm trying really hard to avoid spoilers, so I can't name very many characters. Matt Smith is the guy who killed his wife. That's what I'll say. I won't name the character, but it's Matt Smith. He's also got a dragon because he's a Targaryen. and he's helping other people with their stuff, and he gets like named the King of the Narrow Sea and all this. And it's very fractious between him and the king, because the king's the king and they tend not to like other kings. There's not a lot of like big other houses. There's like 3 or 4 maybe. There's some Lannisters, and one of them is Jason Lannister, and he's an actor that was in season 1 of Game of Thrones as a knight, and so there's a lot of like screenshots of like, oh my god, it's Jason fucking Lannister.
We had no idea who he was back then. Crazy. Wait, no.
Right. Yeah. And they're like trying to grease up the king to marry the daughter and all that. But she's kind of having none of it. She wants to like find her own man. And there's a great scene where like there's like dozens and dozens of old dudes and young dudes trying to be like, you should marry me. I have High Garden or whatever. And there's like a little boy, like a guy who's like 12 or whatever. He's like, I am Lord of the Reach. I would make you a happy wife.
Oh, no, I've seen this dude. He's been on the Reddits.
Yeah. He gets into a sword fight and fucking stabs a dude. It's great.
And everyone's like, she should have married him. He's awesome.
Yeah.
It was like gangly 13-year-old. Awesome.
So what I'm saying is there's an enjoyable roster of side characters.
Fair.
I hope that kid comes back. We see more of him grown up in the post-time skip. Yeah. Oh, and the King's a Warhammer player, so that's a neat.
What?
Yeah, what the king does in his free time is he reads historical texts and has basically like mason workers build little miniature buildings, and he has like a whole little miniature model version of the city from historical times. And so it's like, oh, okay, he just builds terrain for his little war games. Like, yeah, he's
okay. I mean, hey, we don't have TV, so yeah.
Well, what else are you gonna do?
Right.
Yep.
I'm down. That's
Yep.
cool.
Yep. It's great. I love it.
Well, good on him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. So there's a cyberpunk anime.
Edge Runners
on Netflix.
Netflix. Yes.
Yeah.
Have you watched it? Because I have not.
I watched the first 4 episodes.
Okay. Did you binge them or
no?
Okay, so it wasn't like it drew you in and you had to watch another episode. It wasn't that good. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. So I watched the first 2 last night, and the second one ended, and it was like 1:30 a.m. So I was like, I should go to bed.
Okay. So maybe it is that good.
Maybe. I don't know. We always talk about this. You're going to adapt an existing IP into another medium. How do you do it? And this is how you do it. You put it in the world, you put it in the cyberpunk world, but you don't do everything in the video game. It's not about V. It's not about Keanu Reeves, right? It's not about any of the characters that we've seen at all, really. In the Cyberpunk 2077 video game, it's a whole new cast of characters, but the world is there. Like the cars from the game are there, and there's fixers all over the place, and Arasaka's a huge player, and like the apartment that the main character lives in is V's apartment, like one of the mass-produced. There are 18 million of these apartments, and you see one, you've seen them all.
Right.
So it's first time it shows it, I'm like, that's V's apartment. I was like, that's everyone's apartment.
So you can actually find their apartment in the game. They added that in as like an Easter egg now, so you can actually go and find that specific building. And there is one character that I know, having just seen the memes, that is in the show and the game, and that's Adam Smasher.
Right. I haven't gotten to that point. I've seen some memes about him, but he has not been in the show yet.
Yeah, I've just seen comparison memes of him being like a badass in the anime, like doing all this cool, fancy techno muscle shit, like moving super fast. And then in the game, he's like, oh, I'm going to kill you. And then like I just pops in with a bullet because you're the main character of an RPG and you just one-shot him. Like,
yeah.
It's very funny. It's very good.
Yeah, so I don't know, like, way to go. Netflix is so funny this way. They don't hype anything if it's a first season. Ever. They will not put any money into marketing on something if it's their first season. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. Yeah, because it dropped, and I don't know. It was a whole word of mouth thing, and I didn't even realize it was based on at all related to the video game. I thought it was a cyberpunk, which is a thing outside of the video game. I thought it was a cyberpunk anime, right? From some entirely different studio and everything.
I think cyberpunk. I'm just wondering how like generic that term is. Like, obviously, it's like a genre of aesthetic, more or less. Like, it's aesthetic.
And there's a ton of books and movies and TV shows that have been cyberpunk.
Right, like Blade
Johnny
Runner.
Mnemonic, Blade Runner. Yeah.
Right. But I think when you say cyberpunk, I think a lot of people think of the cyberpunk world at this point.
Right, I think so too. And you'd think I would, because I've played through the game twice. But even I was like, are you okay? It's just a cyberpunk anime. That's cool. And I was planning on watching it because it sounded cool and had good reactions to it. But then I started seeing things that were like, it's in Night City, the video game version of Night City. And I was like, oh, what? Yeah. And they're like, they're dropping all the slang. Everything's chooms and eddies and gonks and all of it is there. Yeah.
So even in the anime, everyone got the Street Kid starter pack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's all we can do, man. That's it.
That's fair. It's annoying is what it is, because I'm like sitting here flipping coins whether or not I restart my Netflix subscription, and now it's like, oh, there's another show that people have been like recommending that I watch.
So how big's your list?
Like 3 things at this point. I don't know if it's quite there. Very nearly.
Worth it for a month.
Maybe. It might be worth it for a month when I'm not out of the country. So
yeah, good call.
Yeah.
So just hold on to that list.
Yeah, I will hold on.
Yeah. Anyway, it's good. They introduced the concept that becoming a cyberpunk, that doing the enhancements, the mechanical enhancements to your body is dangerous. That certain enhancements, like he gets a cyber deck. That's this military grade experimental one, and he has it installed, and everyone thinks he's just going to die when he uses it. Like, it'll just kill him. But then he doesn't, and they're like, oh, okay, maybe he can handle this stuff. So it's an interesting, because they kind of investigated a little bit in the game with the concept of the cyber psycho, where some people can just go so cyberpunk that they lose their minds.
Right.
But in this game, they're like, there's an inherent risk to this whole thing. You know. So I just thought that was nice, because in the game it's like, whatever, install whatever cyber mechanical enhancements you want. It will only help you. It will never hurt you in any way, and that's kind of antithetical to what the cyberpunk thing is about.
I mean, weirdly, there are ways that you can hurt yourself upgrading in Cyberpunk 2077, but that is just because it's a waste of points. Like, if you upgrade your breathing capacity for underwater, the game will also never ask you to be underwater, so it will not help. It will simply slow you down on your progression.
It's an opportunity cost thing, right? You can
yes.
choose to enhance yourself in a certain way that doesn't help you in the game, and it hurts you because you're not enhanced in other ways.
Right.
But like, he's using this super speed aspect of the Sand Division cyber deck that he has. And yeah, he uses it like 3 times in one day, and his nose starts bleeding, and then he just like passes out, right?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I get that. And the video game has no interest in any of that.
No. It doesn't want to mechanically balance player freedom to augment and actually making some sort of limit or cost on it that could be detrimental to the player.
Just chrome yourself up as much as you want. Use it as much as you want, and you're fine.
Yeah. So there's a game I want you to play, because I don't know if you've played this, but it's Deus Ex Machina. Deus Ex. It's not Deus Ex Machina. I always say Deus Ex Machina.
Deus Ex. Yeah.
Deus Ex Human Revolution. Have you played this?
I haven't. I've heard good things about it, but at this point, isn't it like 15 years old?
Don't play the original one, although I hear good things about that as well. Play Human Revolution. It's like 12 years maybe at this point. It still holds up. It's still really good.
There's Human Revolution and there's Mankind Divided. What is
that? Mankind Divided is the sequel.
Is that the one that you want me to do?
No, Human Revolution.
Human Revolution. Okay.
Yeah, the slightly older one. Yeah. That is 9 years old, excuse me.
Hey, look, I own it. What the crap? My Steam library is a box of mysteries, dude. Yep. When did I purchase this?
That's an excellent question. Is it the director's cut?
No.
Okay, get the director's cut.
Aw. I purchased this. God, I used to show you right on this page.
If you look at your... Is it Steam Wallet? And then no, not Steam Wallet. Account? Account details. Purchase history should be here somewhere. Yeah, view purchase history. So if you go to your account, and then in the top right-hand corner of all the options, it should be purchase history. You see it?
I think I'm on my account, and it shows a lot of history. Where's purchase history?
It's in like the top right-hand corner. So under account details, the very top one is store and purchase history. No, you don't see that?
I might be on the wrong thing.
Okay.
To account.
On the top right-hand corner, you should see your username and profile picture with a little
that one.
That account details. Yeah, not profile.
Purchase history.
Yeah. There you go. You might need to load more pages if you're like me.
I got it. Wait, no. I have Deus Ex Human Revolution Director's Cut.
There you go. You do.
2019.
Okay, 3 years ago. Why'd you buy it 3 years ago?
I don't know. I don't remember doing this.
Okay.
It was about the same time I bought Chrono Trigger, which I did play. So I don't know, man.
Who knows?
Maybe I was like, oh, these are good games, and then I got caught up in Chrono Trigger and forgot about Deus Ex entirely. That sounds like me.
Maybe. But Deus Ex plays with the idea that there might be a limit on how much you can chrome yourself.
Yeah.
At least in the story, I don't think there is in mechanics for the player. Because you don't actually ever get any enhancements, you simply turn them on. Story reasons, his entire body gets chopped up and chromed, and then they're basically just like, oh, we're worried you might have some negative effects if we just turned all this on all at once, so you're allowed to turn it on as you go, and that's their like story reason for leveling mechanics. As you level up, you unlock more stuff and you turn on more abilities. But there is
story purposes,
right. But there are other story implications for people who chrome themselves up a bunch.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we've talked about this before, but in the Cyberpunk like board game, or I guess just in the whole concept of the lore, like some people chrome to a certain level, their body just dies, and there's no medical reason for it. They're not like, yes. This went haywire and killed. It's just like, nope. One extra thing. They got one extra arm. They replaced with the mechanical one, and they died at the end.
Yeah. So there is I think it was called Cyberpunk 2020. It's the tabletop game.
Yeah.
And I believe we have talked about it, but there is like, if you get too much chrome, you just die. Yeah.
And again, it's not for a reason. It's not like one of your implants explodes and kills you. You just die. Your soul exits your body. The end. You crossed over from human to machine too far.
Right.
Yeah, it's such an interesting concept. I like it.
Yeah. It's good. I like it.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know where this Cyberpunk anime came from. I don't know whose idea it was. I don't know if CD Projekt Red commissioned this thing.
I know they were in talks with it. Like,
were they approached by an anime studio to do this, or was it CDPR's idea?
I don't know.
I don't know.
But I have seen Twitter has been trending with a conversation piece that basically got not leaked in the term of leaked, but basically people heard that there was a specific conversation between CD Projekt Red and the animation studio about one of the characters being a lolly, and the animation studio was like, no, the lolly stays. Like, they would not budge on it. And they were like, but it doesn't fit the universe. Like, there's no lollies in the video games. It's like, it's not who we are. And they're like, but it works for the show, clearly, apparently.
Well, define the term, I guess. There's a short character who is female.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Is she young?
she's well, I don't know. No one really talks about their ages.
Mm-hmm.
She's incredibly murderous.
Well, I mean that's like the trick that anime uses. It's like, oh no, she's a 900-year-old dragon queen. That's she's not actually a 12-year-old, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I saw this argument on the Cyberpunk subreddit the other day, and some people are like, nah, like, okay, in the Japanese voice acting, so the Japanese audio, she does have the high-pitched, kind of lowly voice going on. But apparently with the English dubs, it's a more mature sounding voice actress. So those people argued she's just short. Like, there's women out there who are only 5'3".
Yeah.
But, you know, they're 30-something, and they're badasses, and great. It's fine. There's not a problem here, right?
It's true.
So that's what their argument was, but I can kind of see both sides of it. I don't know.
Right. It's just hard to make it explicitly one way or the other in an anime while adhering to the art style, right? Especially when a lot of that is very much dependent on body replacement modifications. So if she is young, it's like, who's operating on a child to give them chrome? Like, that raises a bunch of story questions that maybe CJ Projekt Red was just like, we don't want like street vendors butchering kids in our world. Like, it's just something we want to avoid, you know?
Yeah, but that's an entire point of the show. Like, the main character is in school. He's like 15 years old, and he's like, install this cyberware in my spine. And the dude's like, all right, if you can pay me to do it, I'll do it. Right?
Okay.
So it's Night City. Like, who the crap cares? If some 10-year-old shows up with enough eddies to give her a cybernetic arm, they'll probably do it.
Okay.
Is my take on it anyway. I don't know.
No, I mean, I like universes that manage to be consistent like that. And so, that's how it should work, I feel.
Yeah. Well, and then also, what was I going to say? So when I think of Loli, I think like Gate, right? What's her name?
Lula.
900-year-old demon.
Oh, the elf lady? Oh, Mercury Rory. Rory Mercury. Yeah.
Rory's 100% a Loli. I do not see Rebecca in the show being in the same category as her.
So a loli, the word loli is short for Lolita, which I think is associated with the gothic dress code that Rory adheres to.
That's sure.
But she is 900. She is also, I think, tall. She's of
Rory.
Yeah, because there's the other girl who's like trying to marry the dude who's like, yeah, we've got a common law marriage here. We slept in the same room 3 times, remember?
They're all trying to marry the very average audience replacement dude in that show. It's like the worst part of that show.
Well, he's,
there's nothing interesting about him at all. And all the women are like, damn, son, let's get married. I'm like, come on. Give him some personality.
I mean, he has personality. He's efficient at his job, but he hates it. Like, he just wants to read books and play anime games.
Again, audience replacement. You mean I too can just like to read books and watch anime and play video games, and women will want me?
And I'm also secretly a ranger in the military and a special operations operative.
Exactly.
It's a dumb part of the show, but it's fun if you go into it with I don't know, just laugh at it all, and it's a good time, I think.
I thought Gate was a good time. I'm not saying Gate sucked. I think Gate was a good time.
Look,
certain parts of it.
To be fair, the elf doesn't want to marry him. She just wants to call him daddy.
Right, which is problematic.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. I think Rory's tall. I know there's that tiny one.
Yeah, the Lula, the mage.
Yeah, and she's like 2 feet tall. She's like not human sized at all.
When they all go back to Japan for like a briefing with like the press or whatever, like there's some committee. I think it's one of his seniors looks at him and talks to him about the little mage girl, not Rory being like, you better not have done anything to dishonor your post or whatever. I don't think they're saying that about... They might be saying that about Rory when they're in the inn. Because she clearly wants to bang him there. And they're like, nah, maybe. I get the feeling she's tall, but she also has that giant axe, and so maybe I'm just transposing its height to her. It's like, when you gotta be tall to wield the giant axe, but she doesn't.
She does not. She is a mythical creature of sorts.
Yeah, she's maybe a god.
Right.
maybe, depending on your definition of god.
There's tiers here, man. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever, however you want it to work. Anyway, I'm just saying the short Rebecca character in the show, she's part of a crew that runs jobs for fixers, and like, spoiler alert, her brother gets murdered and she just goes nuts trying to kill the cyber psycho that took him down. And like, at no part of it am I ever like, it doesn't feel the same. Like, her character does not feel the same to any of the other examples of lolis that I've seen in anime. That's all.
Okay.
But I can see where people come from, especially, again, based on the high-pitched voice acting of the Japanese voice actress.
Okay.
So I can see how the showrunners would code it that way. But I think if you're watching it with English or any other
dub,
any other language's dub, you might not feel the same way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, fair enough.
It's good. It's brutal. There's these tiger claws chasing them on motorcycles, and they run it into a delivery truck.
Okay.
And the dude gets bisected.
Oh.
They're like, here it is. Here's his top half. Here's his bottom half. He's getting run over. Like, okay, I don't know if we needed that, but yep, that's the tone the show's going for. The animation's really creative too. They're trying a lot of things. One of the episodes is just constantly flipping back and forth between a conversation the main character's having with the boss of this team. So it flips from, they have a couple of lines of conversation, and then he's talking to someone else. They go back to the conversation. He's talking to someone else, doing something else. They go back to the conversation. And it's just an entire episode of pretty much that. So they're experimenting in certain ways how to organize this stuff. And then everyone's got the little, hands-free call things like in the game. So the sound of the phone calls coming in is all over the place in the show. And I'm always like, oh, I know that sound really well. Leo pointing at the screen meme. Yeah. So it's not the Cyberpunk video game at all, really. But man, they are definitely in Cyberpunk's version of Night City in every possible way.
Well, that's good. That's good. That's what you want.
It is. Yeah, I think so. And it's not done in a way that really messes up anything with the story they're trying to tell. They can it's a setting, it's an aesthetic, it's a feeling. I think it really works. It's just using, it's using the toolbox, it's using the sandbox. But it's not slavishly beholden to what the video game was trying to do with story, and I think that was really smart.
In other
same
news,
thing with Arcane.
Oh yeah, same thing with Arcane.
Sorry, that's exactly what Arcane did. Arcane's like, we have some characters in here, we have some, maybe a little bit of some story in here from the game, but we're doing our whole own thing, and by gosh, that really worked. So I'm wondering if maybe that was part of the inspiration of how they decided to go with Cyberpunk. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. They looked at that as an example and were like, let's do that. What was that? I don't remember which author it was. It might have been the guy of the book we just read, but he is one of the lead writers for the world in League of Legends.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I think it might have been the guy we just read, or it might have been a different guy, but we'll eventually get to one of his books probably if we keep going. So you can look forward to that. But speaking of doing things excellently and satisfying everyone, Halo Season 2 just started filming.
When you say excellent adaptations of existing IP and everyone was happy about it, I immediately go to Halo.
Yeah.
I read about that. Yeah.
Kill me now.
It's almost perfectly how not to do it, almost.
Almost, yeah. I mean, they got a second season, so it can't be that bad, could it?
That's a great question. Like, I know that who was saying that? Sato in the Discord was saying he watched it just to make fun of it.
Yep.
So, but that's an eyeball, and that's all they care about.
Right. I mean, I've complained about this before. They greenlit Season 2 before Season 1 had aired, so it didn't matter if people watched it or not.
They could still cancel that. That happens.
They could, but They didn't.
I just... Why? Why do it in a way to intentionally piss off the core of your fan base?
Because
they get it.
They didn't want to lean into the aesthetic and the world and the systems that it presents. They wanted to tell their own story about established characters and events. They didn't play the games, Falcon. You need to understand. They didn't play the games. They didn't read the books. They had a conversation with someone who had and then ignored all of it. And they bragged about doing that.
Yeah, they wanted to tell their own story and use the Halo name to attract attention and attract eyeballs and
attract a budget.
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, it's okay. I'm going to make a comparison between sports ball and media now. You ready for this?
Oh, okay.
So in sports ball, different sports implemented the instant replay program, right? Over the last couple decades.
Mm-hmm.
So the NBA did it, but their reviews take forever, like 6, 7, 8 minutes of like, we're looking at this. In the meantime, everyone's waiting around, bored. So what you start getting are people going, instant replay sucks. Get rid of instant replay, right?
Right.
Because it is bad the way they've implemented it.
Really stretching the use of the word instant.
100%. 100%. But no, what they really want is for instant replay to be instant. To look at it, 30 seconds of investigation, you're done, got the call, let's move on. If that was how it is, nobody would complain about instant replay. No. It's the same thing about remakes in media. Some people are like, remakes suck. Why do they remake anything? Remakes are horrible. No, if they're bad, yeah, remakes are terrible. But what you really want is the remakes to be done well, and then no one complains about it and nobody notices. There's no major complaints about it because it's done with care and in a way that makes people happy about it. There you go. So that's it. Remakes bad unless they're good. Instant replay bad unless it's good.
Right. Yeah. Yep. It is a great Photoshop, Aki.
I know. That's amazing, Aki. Pinning that to the channel. Put that on the memes channel.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Wunderbar.
Anywho, yeah. So I generally lean on the side of I would like to see Hollywood and video game industries come up with their own new ideas and new characters and new stories. Because when that's done well, that's really rewarding. But I understand it's harder. It's harder to get something like that off the ground than if you grab the Halo IP and say, we're making a Halo show.
Right.
Because that comes with instant attention that you can't get if you just start with your own thing. So
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's tough out there.
You excited for the BioShock movie or TV show that's going to be on Netflix?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to treat it like I treat everything like this. It'll come out. I won't watch it. If the
somebody else will
around it is positive, then I'll watch it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. That's how we do.
Yeah. That's smart. Smart way to do it.
Yeah, hasn't let me down yet. There's nothing that I have deemed to have good buzz that has been crap when I got around to watching it. So I feel like I'm analyzing this properly. Good. All right. So that's it.
Yeah.
Pod for today.
Yes. There's a little GSL, but it's the 2-week system for the group, so it doesn't matter anyway.
Right.
Gumio's on top, Solo's at the bottom, Heroes in the middle. Makes sense. Yeah, that's basically all you need. Yep. Cool.
All right, good. So that is going to be it from us today. This has been Falcon Paladin Somicron with another edition of the Falcon Paladin Hour. You can support the podcast directly at patreon.com/Somicron. You can buy merch for the Falcon Paladin brand that also supports the podcast at falconpaladin.store. And until next time, thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching at twitch.tv/Somicron and also on YouTube under the Falcon Paladin Hour. And until next time, as always, thanks for hanging out and you take care of yourself.
Bye.